Hey folks, it's Lindsay Hollister with SPS back in the building over at the Detroit Pizza Bar, West Side Detroit on McNichols. It's great space. I'm sure Coach Wood in the seconds ago, I'll make sure he enjoys himself. But let me make a formal introduction. I've had the pleasure of sitting down with this young man as well as his team early in the season. He is the head coach for the Lady Phoenix at Renaissance, Coach Deshuan Wood. Coach, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. How you doing?
Good. I'm glad you made time. Busy man, a lot of stuff going on. First of all, let me say congratulations on winning the PSL championship, because I think we overlook a lot of things. And also congratulations for your run in the state championships. I believe in finishing the semifinals, correct?
Yep, semis.
So I'm speaking with my sports psychology hat on, talking about the positive of what you accomplished, because you and I know by talking about the things going on online, there's a possibility people try to paint it as a shortfall or a shortcoming, or as Giannis equally said, is not a failure. So just talk about what's been on your mind with these things.
Well, throughout the season, there are a lot of things that happen that nobody seems to even know about. We had 3 kids that had ACL injuries this year, and they were a big part of our team, But we never talked about it. We never made any excuses. We just kept pushing. The girls kept working hard. We kept giving everything we had, and we had a lot of success. But with that being said, coming up short at the Final Four, a lot of people may have felt like we probably could have won it all, and we felt like we could have won it all, but we never want to let one game define who we are and let it define anything else that happened in our season. So we always just try to tell the girls how proud of them that we are, and we just encourage them to keep doing the same things because they had a really good run this year.
Yeah. So talk about what it's like, and you don't have to get into the details of the locker room conversation, but blood, sweat, and tears literally going into a season, and we're not going to use the word failure because I think that word is being misused, because failure is the lack of success. You guys had a very successful season. We call you champions of PSL, but how do you re-engage after, let's say between talking after the championship game for PSL and talking to them after the semifinal loss?
Well, I think the biggest thing, we started off 18-19-0, right? And we really didn't have any adversity. And then we had an injury and we had a few things going on within the team. And people don't know, that's the hardest thing of coaching. It's not really the X and O's. It's more so of what's happening on a daily basis, because these are still kids that are trying to become young adults and make smart decisions. So with that, they did a phenomenal job. But after the PSL championship, the girls were on a high note, and then we lost one of our best players, which kind of brung them down a little bit.
After the championship.
We was at full strength. Yeah, we started off 19-0, but she was one of our leaders, Nevaeh Otis. She was also real solid at scoring, making plays. So it took us 4, 5, 6 games to kind of re-identify who we were, because you can't lose somebody with that type of game and talent and then think things are going to stay the same.
Coach, wait a minute. Next man up.
True, but if you look at even the NBA right now, even with Giannis, he didn't play Paul George, Kawhi. You cannot have these guys out of the lineup and just think you're going to keep going.
Right.
So it kind of hurt us when we got to the Final Four. But the biggest thing we took from the Final Four was we know what it feels like now. We know what the atmosphere is. We know how tough it's going to be. We know what it takes to get there. So with all that being said, this summer we're going to use that as motivation.
I get that. You do a great job using social media to your benefit, and I also want to take a moment and thank the Detroit Wayne Integrated Health Network. Because of their support at SPS, we're able to have a great mental health campaign, and I'm grateful for what they're doing and the resources they provide. But we talked a second offline about the other part of social media, and when the Twitter fingers and the Twitter gangsters and all these people make these strong statements, but that are not really rooted in them having the credentials or a valid reason why. How do you balance that? And then I do like one thing you did say also, they have their place. But, how do you balance when you get that kind of feedback that's not really warranted?
Well, unfortunately, it's the world that we live in right now. So every day before practice, team meetings, we just try to reiterate the things that we know to be true. So we always having talks. We always asking girls for their opinions on certain things. But more importantly, I've walked this walk before. And most of the people, my good friends, have walked this walk as well. For example, like Coach Juan Rickman over at Ferndale, who won a state title. We talk all the time. So where I get my information from and where the people I talk to, we've all walked it. So that's why I really wanted to coach, because I can really help these girls get through the process that it is, because most Twitter fingers, as you call them, maybe even some parents, maybe even some friends, they want to skip the process, development, working hard, not wanting to work for anything. So those are things that I'm trying to incorporate with just letting them know, listen, there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. There's no time to just think you're just going to show up and all of a sudden you get that scholarship or you win that title. There's things you have to do to earn that, and that's what we try to do this year.
Just having that great circle of friends like DeJuan Rickman, shout out to, former coach Shane as well, I want to wish him the best on Game 7 and what's happening. Does having that help you when there's all that other outside noise and you got that group you can kind of fall back to? For
sure, because listen, nobody in this world is perfect. I'm watching coaches in the NBA on the college level that's coached 10, 15, 20 years. They make mistakes, So me, being in the first full time as a full head coach first year, of course I've made some mistakes. So you're always talking to guys who've been there, who know the kids, who know what girls basketball is about, and just people who, like Juan, you see he's won a state title, and he's been in this game for a long time. So
and went to the big game and lost before.
Yeah, exactly. And you see it took him a couple times before he got over the hump. And again, it's just part of the process. Now, if you get lucky and do it the first time, that's a great job. But it's a process for everything. And I just want the girls to know that, their hard work will pay off. But as long as they trust that process and what we're teaching them, then they'll be fine.
We want to focus on the girls, but let's talk about you for a second. You have an extensive resume. You played on every level to include professional, collegiately, as well as high school, obviously. Chris Rock had a line a long time ago that tall people can't really talk about short people, and rich people can't really talk about poor people. Like, you can't just go there. So how do you not smash your resume on the desk sometime for people, or just because I don't see that in your social media communication. I don't hear that. I mean, how do you not do that when that's a card that you can pull?
What's funny? It takes a lot out of me not to do that sometimes, and I'm almost hitting sin, but I'm like, no, you know what? Let me bring it back in. Let me bring it back in. But I think the most important
why bring it back in?
Because I think I never started out as a high-profile player in my days. I knew I had to work for everything, and everything that I got, I've earned. So I believe in hard work, being humble, having good character, and just doing the right things. If you can do those things, everything else will fall into place. So I just try to stay in my place and not go back and forth, and know the real reason why I'm doing it is for the girls to be, successful and productive anyway. So I just try to keep my focus where it needs to be and not really try to make it a one-on-one battle war back and forth with people who've never really even been there.
Yeah, and I don't want to give too much more credit to social media, but an example I can think of, and it's speaking to what you're doing, sometimes there's just this inside group. It's like everyone doesn't really know. You can't really explain it. And the perfect example I will give is that when the Miami Heat closed out their series, the reporter opened up to Jimmy Butler with a very, great question as he unpacked it. But at the end, he made the mistake of saying, when you play Saturday instead of Sunday. So Jimmy's response was really curt. He said, hey, man, we play Sunday. Do your job. And social media blew up. Yeah, that's what the reporter did. But somebody was like, that's his man.
Yeah.
They talk like that to each other. They have a relationship. So I say that to say, sometimes you can't even explain to everybody why that is. And being a member of the media, I understood that.
Right.
So is that part of the other part too, where it's like you got to just understand that everybody just don't get it and they won't get it?
No, they just don't get it. But also too, from the LeBron James to the Jimmy Butlers, these guys are very detailed, man, and they pay attention to everything. And the thing about basketball is this: one small detail can lose you the game, So that
time out and all that kind of
you
stuff.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like with Steph Curry, and even he had the ball the other day with about 16 seconds left, and he shot it too early, and could have ran some more clock off. So
you still use those as teachable moments? Do you pull from that?
Oh, for sure, all the time. One thing we did a lot this year, I pulled up clips from NBA games, college games, high school games, and I showed them everything, because you can never have too much information when you're trying to win a championship, and you never know what moment is going to present itself. Right. You always got to make sure you give yourself the best chance and make sure that you're ready for that moment. So, again, going back to Jimmy Butler, these guys are detailed, man, and they work hard and they want everything to be exact because they know if something ain't done right or said right, it could cost you.
I can appreciate you and what you bring. When we sat down at the beginning of the season, I knew those young ladies were really benefiting from someone on your caliber and your experience. Let's talk a little bit more about just coaching young female athletes. We talked about that before, but just talk about that experience and coaching these young ladies, and especially bright young ladies. When we talk about the brand of Renaissance and just being around there, associated with them and the support they have. Just what is it like dealing with that crew?
I mean, very good group. Let me start off by saying, those girls, they they really have a family bond. From the parents to the kids, you know, they're always around each other, supporting each other, wanting to work out, wanting to work hard, doing great things in school. You know, for me, it was just a blessing because it's hard to find a team where everybody's bought in, you know, and you got to kind of sell them throughout the year of why this is your role, why that is your role. And, you know, you got to give a lot of credit to Coach Shane for that. You know, he built that up, you know, so it was easy for me to come in and just keep the train rolling. But, man, with the young ladies, it's different from boys, obviously, because, you know, they have a little more emotions that you have to take care of and watch out for.
Let's dive a little bit more. What do you mean when you say, I want to act like I'm a third grader. What do you mean, Coach, when you say more emotions?
Well, you know, boys, they may get mad or, you know, do something crazy and kick over a chair or something, you know, as opposed to a girl, you know, they might, you know, shed a tear or two, you know, not because, you know, you want to, obviously it's crying, but because they have passion and they have emotions too, and they want to do the right thing, you know. I've had girls, you know, shed a couple tears and go out there and score 3-4 buckets in a row or get a few stops or a block, you know, but you just got to make sure that they know your intentions and they know that I want to be there for them and help them. And
how do you help them know that?
Just by spending time with them. You know, I think it'll never come through coaching. You know, the X's and O's, you got to get to know somebody. You know, most of these girls, I knew a lot about them before I even met them. You know, it's like let's take it to the movies. You know, when Denzel goes and he does he reenacts somebody, a character, you know, like American Gangster. He don't just show up and then do a role. He has to dive deep into that person is, you know. So that's kind of what you got to do with these girls. Figure out who they are, what they've been through, where they want to go, their goals and ambitions, and just let them know you're there for them and spend time with them. So that's kind of what I tried to do this year.
I want to go back to something you said, and it reminded me of an experience I had. I was with Governor Granholm's administration years ago, and one of the first things we did when we met as a team, everyone was kind of saying, you know, what do you like about being here? And I never forget one of our legal counsel, he's now the head of a huge law firm now, kind of like what you say, I like the fact that we're all on the same team. And I took that for granted, because in the political world, well, I should take that back. Well, if you're in the corporate world, people can have different political opinions and have different things. But back to what you said, isn't it assumed that everyone's on the same page with a team, but you're saying that's not always the case?
No, not at all. I mean, listen, even as a player, I've been on some of the most talented teams you could ever even imagine, and we didn't even make the playoffs. And I'm talking about as a professional, you know, with other professionals. You know, so it's like a puzzle. You still got to make sure those pieces align, you know, because if you got one person that got other thoughts or different ideas or maybe talking bad about certain people on the team or just bringing things that you don't want inside, it can disrupt everything. And that was just my main focus this year, was just to make sure that we stay on track for what was the most important thing. And that was winning and everybody having fun, you know, and enjoying the process, because now they're seniors. You know, so this is their last ride. So, you know, we want to make sure this train runs smoothly, because if not, then their senior year could be bad. But I don't expect that happening, but we always reinvert it all the time.
I got that. Before we let you get out of here, we did talk about mental health. I talked about the Detroit Wayne Integrated Health Network. What role does mental health and positive mental health play for you to have the success you need? And easier said than done, how do you foster that kind of opportunity? That kind of got you going a little bit.
Yeah, because it's something that me and my coaching staff been talking about. We want to start doing some exercises where we can talk to our kids, you know, every couple of days, ask them what's on their mind and what's going on with them. Because here's the funny thing. If you don't ask, you won't never know. And there was a few times this season where we had some things that was bothering a few of our players, and we had no idea. So we got to engage, you know, more often, talk to them, because now with social media, it's taking over the world. You know, we just got to call it what it is. And if they get caught up in it, or they're seeing things or hearing things that, you know, that may be bothering them, we don't know nothing about, we got to figure out how to tap into that. So I think just having that communication on a daily basis, making sure everything is smooth and good, even group sessions, you know, if we got something going on, maybe we have the whole team sit down, spread what's on their mind, if they need to get anything out, but it has to get out. Otherwise, it sits in and it eats you more and more, and then it starts to affect you on the court and off the court.
Speaking of movies, I remember Will Smith when he was incarcerated for a moment and he was in a group session. It kept going around, he kept passing, but I think the consistency of knowing that it's there that the young lady may not want to talk about the first time or the second time, but she knows that on Thursdays after practice, we had this time. So I like the fact that you're being proactive and also coming out of your own comfort zone saying, well, they didn't tell me nothing.
Right.
Compared to saying I got to go find out.
Right. And again, that's part of learning as a coach. You know, the biggest thing as coaches sometimes we forget is we're learning on the job too.
But people don't want to give you a break for that, though.
They don't, but it's reality, you know, and I tell people all the time, it don't matter if you played 10, 15, 20 years at the highest level, if you coach 15, 20 years, we've always can get better too. You know, just like we want our players to improve, coaches have to improve because the game is constantly changing. So in order to keep up and learn new things and different things, you have to get in that classroom, film room, or talk to other coaches as well. So
because
that's important.
But then you become vulnerable, though. I mean, who wants to put their chin out for potentially getting the right cross to it?
Well, the thing is this. You have to be understanding of, I'm a human being. I make mistakes. Quick, short story. I watched Tom Izzo this year.
Shout out to
He was up 13 with 1:30 to go against Iowa, and they lost the game. Which goes to show none of us is perfect, and all of us can continue to get better to continue to grow. Now, there's nothing wrong with that because that happens to all of us. It happened to us against Rashad this year, you know, in the Operation Friendship game. We was up 6 with 13 seconds to go and lost the game. Now, how do you take that moment, just like I'm sure Izzo would take that moment, and you learn from it? The biggest thing we all can do as human beings is not be afraid to, 1, make mistakes, but 2, learn from them. So I'm never going to be the one to act like I'm perfect or know everything. I'm going to continue to grow and get better, and the same as my girl. So I don't have no problem with that. And if somebody does, then I see why they took the route they took. But from the route I took, it's been nothing but success as a player and a coach.
I take that as being you own things. Coach, you've given us more than enough information that can be so helpful. I want to thank you for what you're doing, what you continue to do. And I'm learning from you. Just this time with you and how you're putting out an aura and the energy of saying, no, man, we all out here. Don't be afraid to fail. Keep getting further.
And real fast, you know, we appreciate what you do, man. This is a big platform. You know, you're all around. You're capturing everybody. You know, we wait too long to get flowers, you know. And I just want to say, man, you're doing a phenomenal job. Keep it up. We appreciate it. You know, we love it, man. Anytime we can shed a light on the girls, on the coaches, on the city, whatever it may be, we definitely, truly appreciate it.
I appreciate that, and I look forward to being back around, whether it's the summertime, season, and all that, and I'm always a phone call away.
Thanks a lot, man.
All right, let's give it up to Coach Deshuan Wood, doing great things. I think he's about to go get on the basketball court. I think there's a tournament game waiting for him. We're going to make sure you get there and handle your business. So with that being said, Lindsay Ellis with SPS. See you guys next time.
Peace.